myself or dying. And the frog, it's kind of humorous name. And then you have Nolly, which you don't knock. Nolly, which you don't knock. So then you start looking at what happens most frequently in these names. The most common stem or word or part or regular recurring word is not. And of course you know all the famous Alaskan Athabascan place names are Susitna, Talkeetna, Kosna, Kanna, China, they have not in them. And Gokana, and on and on and on. And most of those names come from the 1890s, and the first geologists making maps, they were writing down names from the Athabascans, and some of them got on the maps. Usually they're kind of not spelled the way we want them to be phonetically accurate. But all the rules seem to work. I can tell you Talkeetna is Dalkeetno in Denaina. Now that's the language of Cook Inlet. And then in the Ottoman language it's Ikdelq-na. You can hear those are very different pronunciations. Ikdelq and Dalkeet mean the same thing, and they refer to the same river. They have different pronunciations. Dalkeet and Denaina and Ikdelq and Atna mean the food is being kept there. Cute, you know, this is a real common Athabascan verb for storing food and handing and giving and conveying food. If you or hand me some that food object, you would use this sought meat cute and Atna would be give me that food, put it in my hand, and in Robert's language you'd say slot meat chew. Slot meat chew. So I practice this. I make myself memorize them, and I've all done it from the place names. Now, how many of you? What's the youngest person? Who's the youngest one?
We have some 6th graders in here. Anybody 6th grade?
5th graders.
7th grade.
Who?
I think it's mainly 6th through 10th
So
grade here.
how old is the youngest person?
I don't think we know, yeah.
Well, at that age, and you're a healthy young man or woman, and you're out traveling with the Athabascans, they're teaching you these names, and you're learning them from memory, not from maps, but from memory. You don't look them up by the number and say it's 738, or Trapiuda here is 717, but that's what we're trying to do to make them accessible. But these are completely memorized. And I'm of the opinion that you just here in 2012 could memorize those too. Okay, you want to try it?
Sure.
So, there is a name right around Minto that's called, on the map, it's quite interesting, it's called COD Hill. And how many of you have been out to Minto? You heard of COD Hill?
Yeah, I've actually been there.
Cool. Now, you know, somebody thought it meant COD, which in early, when you shop from a catalog in Alaska, it's charge on delivery. Or I should ask you, what does COD mean? You know, charge on delivery. You don't even hear it much anymore, but it'd be like if somebody brought this box to your house and you paid them right there, you're going to charge on delivery. But the real COD is Tha'adi. So say that.
Tha'adi.
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 So if we were really having a serious class here, I'd be writing these down. I'd have you make sure you work hard on this. Tha'adi is a very interesting word. It's an adverb Peter John, and I did meet and work with Peter John, it means all the time. Or, you know what perpetually means. Perpetually, right? You know that word perpetually? What does perpetually mean? Everybody here knows, you've heard the word perpetual,
Like a
right?
perpetual motion?
Yeah.
You guys know what that is?
So can you imagine that we have a place name meaning perpetually? It would be pretty striking, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be, you know, pretty striking? We don't. And Athabascan place names are often very striking. I mean, you could look at that as a spiritual concept, a geographical concept, but that's what Theodi means. And it's a pretty rare word, and there's a few things we can do with the word, but it is an adverb. And okay, so everybody say Theodi.
Theodi.
Okay, now let's say Theodi knock.
Theodi knock.
Okay, now we said hill stream, so all the time, perpetually stream, that's what we said. So then let's say Theodi knock Hada Chagrin.
Theodi knock Chagrin.
So I'm saying these from memory, I'm not reading them from the map, and I won't even look at the map, and we're going to say 8 names, and then I want to see how many of you can say the 8 names from memory. But the fact is, the audience participates in 8 names, and every one of them is the way it looks. It's natural. This is the genius of the geography, is it's easy to memorize, and the names are really fitting the landscape in a way we never even conceive of that in English, being that organized. The geography in terms of English place names and official place names is kind of a grab bag in Alaska. And quite often people disagree, and they keep saying South Fork and West Fork and 3 Mile and 6 Mile, and you do get confused. And then there's 2 different 6 miles and all of this all over the place. Fort Yukon, Nantasket, whatever. In fact, the young Athabascans have actively kept this going. And there's no reason why they couldn't. There's absolutely no reason. You just memorize it. So Theodi, and this young person here has actually been there. So there's a spur on Theodi, and it comes out here, and then the big part is kind of it's these hills and these lakes and these streams. And so the main Theodi is this larger part of the ridge, and the spur is called Theodi Tzitla. Let's say that.
Theodi Tzitla.
So Tzitla means little, and that's the, you know, it's distinguished from Theodi. You could say Theodi Chok, but they tend not to. And so there happens to be a lake below the big one, and they say Theodi Chokpana.
Theodi Chokpana.
Theodi Chokpana. Okay, I'm going to color these and show you the 8 as we wrap up. So, isn't that logical? There's a little Theodi Tzitla. The lake beneath Theodi, the big one, they put the chok in so disambiguated, and they're making it clear where that lake is. That's clear. Theodi Chokpana.
Theodi Chokpana.
Theodi Chokpana. Don't fall asleep here. I'm giving you an opportunity to practice. So you say it after me, everybody. Theodi Chokpana.
Theodi Chokpana.
You do not want to pass up an opportunity to learn when Robert or someone can tell you these names. You want to repeat them and do it from memory as best you can. And I don't know, do you write Atma much? And try to? But you try to say it? Okay. And let's, actually, I'd have a hard time putting Theodi into Atma. I've never seen it, that single thing. But, okay, so we have Theodi Chokpana. And then the stream below Tha'adi going along is part of the Catalina River, and that's Tha'adi Knot. And that goes up here near this lake, and that kind of goes right on up here quite a ways along the south side of the landform. When you get to this point, Tha'adi.Chagad, that means that name ends, and then this name, Tha'Thiknot happens. So that is very complicated, dangerous places to go on boats and stuff. So then we've got these group of lakes, and so you have Tha'adi Minak. See that?
Tha'adi